We found a receipt in the trunk of your husband's car for a live pig. This receipt was made out to an F. Morgan.
A pig? Adrian runs a tool business. That would be Frank Morgan. God knows what he's up to.
What makes you say that about Morgan, ma'am?
He's the foreman at my husband's plant. A very shady character. I've told Adrian he needs to keep his distance from the staff. They're always out drinking together.
The situation doesn't look good, Margaret. You need to tell me what you know.
There's no need to be so aggressive. I'm also a victim.
You're lying. You killed your husband, and Morgan helped you cover it up.
How dare you? I love my husband. On what basis could you possibly accuse me of wanting to hurt him? It's hardly surprising the police force has such a bad reputation, with people like you representing them.
Your husband frequents Kavanaugh's bar?
How did you know that? Adrian practically lives there after work.
So Adrian spends a lot of time there?
Up until recently, he's been away in Seattle a lot on business.
So your husband would rather spend time at a bar than be at home with you, Mrs. Black. And that makes you angry.
Yes, it does make me angry. But I know my place, officer, unlike you.
You're lying, Margaret. You're a lush. Kavanaugh's is your hangout.
Your tiny mind must really be aching. Do you have any evidence that proves I've ever been in that bar? I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I'm going to ring my attorney. I hope you're well paid, detective.
Did your husband tell you where he was going last night?
All he said was he was going to meet Frank for a drink.
So nothing out of the usual then?
Well, he came home early from work. He never comes home early. And he went out early, too. He normally never leaves for the bar till about 7.
So you didn't arrange to meet him out at the rail yards?
I've never been near a rail yard in my life.
But you knew where he was really going because you told him to meet you at the rail yards. That's where you jumped him. How did you hide the body?
You have an overly active imagination, young man. Do you have any proof of that allegation? My husband is missing. You say he may be hurt, and the best you can do is berate me? You're a poor example of a man.
Was your husband wearing his glasses when he left here yesterday?
Yes, he just bought a new pair.
Go on.
I kept telling him to throw those old ones away. He tried to repair them with tape. They looked terrible.
So you disposed of the new pair after you killed your husband. You made a mistake in leaving the old pair behind.
I never did! How can you be so heartless, throwing around accusations at a time like this?
That's a lie, Margaret. You know exactly what pair he was wearing because you were there.
You're being flat out ridiculous now. Why don't you show me some proof of where I was supposed to be? If I was there, at least I'd know what happened to him. But I don't, detective. And you might not care. But that is the most terrible feeling.
Tell us about the photo of Adrian in the bedroom.
What is there to tell? It's from his most recent business trip to Seattle.
There's plenty to tell. You just won't tell it. You're lying about the photograph, Mrs. Black.
You're incredibly rude and insensitive. But I guess you know that. I've told you what I know about the picture.
What about Nicole, Mrs. Black? Was your husband going to leave you for her?
I've seen the photo frame. He thinks I'm stupid. But women sense these things. I don't know if he intended to leave me or if it was just a fling. God only knows. I only want to know that he's safe.
What was the purpose of Adrian's trip to Seattle, Mrs. Black?
He was meeting with some distributors. Adrian said that it was important to make contact interstate if he was going to grow his business.
You and your husband are in separate bedrooms. What gives? Did you want him out of the way, Margaret?
No, I did not. My husband and I may have drifted apart, but it wasn't my choice.
This is KTI.
There's plenty to tell. You just won't tell it. You're lying about the photograph, Mrs. Black.
You're incredibly rude and insensitive. But I guess you know that. I've told you what I know about the picture. You're wrong. I presume it's too much to expect an apology.
I think you should come clean with us, Mrs. Black. Your husband is missing, and after our search, I'm willing to call the circumstances suspicious. Can you account for your movements last night?
You're not accusing me, are you? What an awful thing to say. I was here all night, of course, waiting for Adrian to come home.
Is there anyone who can vouch for that?
Well, no. I was here alone. I cooked Adrian's dinner and waited, but he never came home.
The evidence is stacking up, Mrs. Black. It all places you at the rail yard last night.
I've already told you I was here all night alone. Your stack of evidence doesn't change a thing.
Yes, I am accusing you. Your husband was going to leave you. That's motive. Now your only alibi is an empty house. Get it off your chest. Tell me the truth.
Whatever your theories are, you're going to have to prove that I was there and that I wanted to hurt him. Do you think you can do that, detective? Find my husband, you incompetent fool, or the LAPD will be facing a lawsuit.